Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the First 90%. Today I'm super excited to be talking to Kurt Workman, who is the founder of a literally unicorn company in the early child care space, Owlet Baby Care. And welcome, Kurt. Thanks
Thank you
for
so much.
joining me here.
Appreciate it, yeah.
So, Kurt, firstly, if you would like to tell the audience about what you do and what's your journey has been like in maybe like 30 seconds so that they get to know you.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm a dad. I've got 3 little kids.
Yeah.
And I started Owlet. We make a wearable health monitor for babies. So it tracks their heart rate and oxygen levels and can notify parents if they need additional assistance. So you can also track and trend all the data and share it with your doctor to do virtual care at home. And we're in the United States and Europe. We're looking at expanding to India very soon in the UAE. And we're building out a platform for infant health.
Yeah, we'd love to partner with you in India if you're ever...
That's the plan. We have to do it, yeah.
So tell us about your journey. How did you get started with this? Was it through a personal experience, or maybe you saw some babies in your family, friends? How did it start? How did Owlet start?
Yeah, well, the oldest grandbaby in our family, the Workman family, passed away from SIDS. So it was a very traumatic experience for the family. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to know my wife in high school. So we're high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
And I got to know her really well. And she's had 3 heart surgeries. So she has a heart defect that went undiagnosed when she was born.
Okay.
And so as we were talking about starting our family, years later, the doctor said our kids were at risk of the same thing. So I remember just thinking, like, how do I actually know if they're okay at home? How do I actually track their health? Babies can't communicate how they're feeling. And I learned about this technology in the hospital that they use called pulse oximetry. It's that little red light that they put on your finger.
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of how it came about. And we developed it for 3 years and then launched it in the US. It's now the #1 baby monitor in the United States.
Yeah, I think I heard you say that 1 in every 10 baby that is born in the United States is using Owlet, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's phenomenal. And that's less than in maybe 7 years' time.
Yeah, about 6 years, yep.
So that's amazing, right? Congratulations. That means that there is a real need for the product. It's not just something good to have. There's a real need that you're solving, because having scaled in 7 years to become the #1 baby monitor, and 1 in 10 babies are using it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that certain areas of the United States, like we're from Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
In Salt Lake City, 1 in 3 babies that goes home from the hospital. In Nebraska, it's 1 in 5. So I think what we're seeing is, as people become aware of it, we're seeing really high adoption. We think eventually this will become a standard of care, just like car seats. So every baby that leaves the hospital goes home with a car seat, and there's 40 times as many babies that pass away from SIDS than pass away from car accidents. We've had over 1,000 cases where Owlet has helped save a life. So it is something that I think as parents learn about it, they use it, they hear from friends. As we just got FDA clearances, we published the clinical studies that we do. That all kind of contributes to what we're seeing, and we're seeing a lot of growth right now.
Yeah. Do you end up talking to a lot of parents as you're running this company, as you're in this space? Do you personally get to talk to a lot of parents as well?
Yeah, we do a lot of focus groups and surveys. When we first started, we had a group of 100 parents in the area, and we drive around and test every one of our prototypes with them. So customer feedback and talking to parents is a big part of it.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me that, and I was so impressed and amazed, because that's the #1 thing that founders don't do, which they should be doing. Yeah. But you spent maybe like 2 years just getting the product right and talking and iterating with customers,
with customers, Yeah, we would go in. I still remember one family I went in, and they had one of these big hospital monitors that they had to bring home, and the cords were attached to the baby, and the alarm sounded 4 or 5 times when we were there. And we showed her our little sock. We said, "What do you think?" And she just started crying. I'll never forget that. She was just like, "This would change my life to have something that was wireless and wearable." And there, a lot of families that just wanted it for peace of mind. But for her, it was really constricting her lifestyle. But we went into a lot of houses. Every design iteration we had, we would take and we'd show it to at least 50 families and have them touch it and hold it and put it on their baby. And So yeah, a ton of customer interaction.
Wow, that's incredible. So what's the reason that people are using this product? Is it because, in your case, for example, you said that the doctor told you that there might be a higher risk for your baby?
Yeah.
Is that the reason, or what's the primary driving force?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people who have kids with health conditions buy the product for sure. If your baby's coming home from the NICU, if they're have some sort of severe respiratory infection, if they have a heart defect, definitely we see really high adoption with them. But the craziest thing is that still the leading cause of infant mortality in the United States is SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome, and it affects. There's no demographic that is not at risk of that. It's the number one cause of mortality. So. You also have a lot of families just with healthy babies that just want to know that if something happens, you're away from your baby 2/3 of the day they're sleeping. If you're lucky, I guess. But the 2/3 of the day. And so Owlet's the only monitor that can actually proactively tell you if you need to check on them.
Got it. So how does the technology work? I imagine there's a sock type of a product that they wear around their legs, right? And then, so how does it work beyond that? Yeah,
it's just a really simple sock or foot wrap that wraps around their ankle and then Velcros around their foot.
Yeah.
It's super easy to place on, it's really comfortable. And that sends all the information, the heart rate, oxygen. We track baby's sleep state and sleep quality to do sleep coaching with the parent, and temperature. We send all that to a little base station that sits on parent's nightstand, and that becomes kind of the primary monitor.
Okay.
So if their oxygen drops or if there's a reason to go check on them, that will sound an alarm.
Okay.
And then it converts all of the signal to Wi-Fi, so you can get it on your smartphone.
Oh, so you can also get the alarm on the phone.
Yeah.
So wherever you are, you probably hear it.
That's right.
Yeah. And for how long do parents typically use this product?
It's about a year. Yeah, about 12 months. The first year.
And the sock adjusts for the growth of the baby.
Yeah, the sensor pops out and you just get a bigger fabric sock that it pops into. And then, it can grow with the baby. Yeah. So.
Got it.
Yeah, I wish I had one here. We could show. Yeah.
That would have been awesome. We'd put some imagery.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't know I'd be doing a podcast in Dubai today.
Yeah. So in your opinion, so of course, health and safety is the number one priority for every parent for their child, right?
That's right.
But beyond that, if you think beyond that, what are the things that are priorities for parents these days in America?
I think it really depends on the age of the child.
Yeah.
Definitely those first 6 months, it's health and safety. Number one priority.
Absolutely.
Once you get past the first year, I think it really turns to development. You want to make sure your child's successful. That becomes the entire focus. Like everything you live for is how do I give this child the best life I can possibly give them.
Yeah.
So one of the things I loved about your pitch today, it just really resonated with me. I think as you're like, okay, they're gonna make it.
Yeah.
Then you're like, all right, how do I help them thrive? So So, but that first year, it's health and safety and just getting sleep, and then after the first year, I think it's development.
Yeah. And does it vary by demographics? Does it vary by how many kids parents have? If they have one child versus if they have four, does it vary, or do you think? People say that after the first one you sort of
kind of relax a little bit.
The second one.
I think there's some truth to that on the surface. Like my oldest definitely gets a lot more parenting than the youngest one does. But like deep down, no. Like the stuff that really matters, I think parents have a deep love for their child. Like you see parents will sacrifice their life for their child. Like there's a level of love and care that I think is more than just like if the binky falls on the ground, you have to sanitize it. First one, yes. With the third one, no, you don't. So I think in terms of caring about their success in life, I think it's pretty universal.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
So let's talk a little bit about you. You're of course phenomenally successful. You've taken your company from zero to $1.5 billion valuation in I think less than 5 years or maybe 6 years. And it doesn't come as a fluke, right? I think it takes 20 years to be an overnight success. So what is that journey been like for you? Because it's okay, in hindsight, you can say, oh, I had this thing in my family, my wife had a condition, blah, blah, and I started the company. But there are millions of other people who were in that situation who didn't start the company. So where did that come from? Where did that desire or that spark come from? Especially in growing up in Utah, which is probably not the Silicon Valley of the United States.
No, yeah. I think I've always been an entrepreneur. Just I don't know when it started because it's always been kind of part of who I am.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, entrepreneur was like a 4-letter word. It was like a bad thing. It was like my parents wanted me to be an engineer or an accountant or a doctor, right? Not an entrepreneur.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family? Like what kind of household did you grow up in?
Yeah, I had a great childhood. I had two awesome parents. My mom is a teacher. My dad's a lawyer. Very focused on education, very focused on stability. My dad's whole life was about how do I make sure it's a very stable environment. But I was
siblings.
I have 4 siblings. So there's 5 of us.
So big family.
Big family. Yeah,
big happy family.
I'm the second oldest. Yeah. Okay. We fought. All that siblings have. But I would say it was a normal childhood. Very loving household. But one thing I always felt like with my dad is he did not like his job. He always prioritized stability over happiness. And I just saw it. He didn't want to talk about what he did. He wasn't, he talked about how he wished he could do other things, but just felt very committed to financial stability. And I think watching that, I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to feel like I could pursue whatever, dream or passion I had. So
but do you have an early memory where you thought maybe, maybe I don't want to do what my dad is doing, or do you have an early memory that says, I don't want to be an engineer or doctor or,
I don't know if it was, if I really formed it that clearly at that age, other than just, it seemed to me that given that he didn't do what he loved, that the purpose of the career was just to make money. And it was like, wow, okay.
To provide for the family.
Provide for the family. And which is important. That's a very noble thing. But I was like, wow, if there's a way to do that and do what I love and make a lot of money, if those 3 things could come together, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I started have you ever heard of paintballing?
Yeah. It's amazing fun.
I loved it as a kid. So I started my own paintball company. We sold paint and I had a big CO2 canister. I could fill up people's CO2.
Wow.
So it did that. And then later I started a flooring company to put me through college. So we did tile and I had a few employees. So just always trying to figure out a way to build or create something.
So you're doing it. You're not only, so a lot of people get jobs in high school and college, but you were actually employing people. And
kind of. I wasn't very good at it, but I was trying.
It was your first time, so you obviously do and learn, right?
Yeah.
And is the trajectory of your siblings similar to yours, or they're quite different?
I would say they're pretty different. They're a lot more, they're like my dad. They're a lot more security focused, stable jobs. They all, got degrees or master's degrees or beyond. So, So I'm the black sheep of the family.
Or the gold sheep.
Or the gold sheep,
If you look at your entrepreneurial journey, and you started the company right out of college, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so it's like the only job that you've had.
That's right.
Like after college.
That's right.
Yeah. So what's like your superpower? What's the thing that, everybody knows that Kurt is a go-to man and he'll get it done. What's that one thing that you are really good at?
It's funny because I ask people this exact question in interviews.
Okay.
But now I'm like, wait, what is my superpower? I haven't had to interview. So, I asked that question. I think what I love is I love bringing people together with different skill sets to go after a hard problem. That's really fun for me. I think what I can do really well is like, wow, that person's talented there, that person's talented there. This is something that we can build and solve, and let's do it. I feel like I'm a very tolerant person of different ways of working. And you need that when you're working with engineers and you're working with marketing people to try and bring that together into something. So I love that. I love getting something going. I'm very scrappy, so I question everything and push. And so I think it's a level of believing that you can do something you probably can't do, and then also finding people and getting them to believe that too is what I love to do.
Is that anything to do with you being the middle child?
Ooh. I don't know.
Okay. Do you think? So I'll give you the context. Somebody once told me, a very good friend of mine, he's a middle child. They had 3 brothers.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so whenever we would do anything in our family, I would always have to sacrifice, because I'll have to sacrifice for my elder brother because I have to show him respect, and I have to sacrifice for my younger brother because he's younger than me. So like if they are going on a holiday, family holiday, the older brother and the younger brother would sleep on the bed and I would have to sleep on the couch.
Oh, okay.
Because of this reason. So it just struck me, like maybe is it because of
something in the middle?
Because you're getting people together, right?
Yeah, I was different. I always fought with my older brother. He and I always fought.
Yeah.
And my younger brother, I was very protective of him. So I don't know. I think when you're in the middle, you don't get any special treatment because you're not the oldest. You're not the youngest.
Yeah.
And so you have to be persuasive in what you do because you're not the de facto leader and you're not the de facto baby. So you've got to figure out how to convince people. Yeah. And that's what my family tells me. They're like, if they need to convince my parents of doing something, they always come to me and they're like, go convince mom and dad to go do this thing. So, I don't know. Maybe.
So what's next for you guys? What's next at Owlet, and what's next for you as a family? What are the things that you're looking forward to maybe in 2025 or next couple of years?
Yeah, I'm really excited because we've collected the largest data set of infant health that's ever been collected. And there's some big problems we need to solve. Number one is SIDS. We really believe there's several different research pathways we have right now to really try and understand what causes SIDS, but also how do we detect it early and how do we prevent it? So that's a big one. Number 2 is respiratory infections. Almost every baby in the US will get a respiratory infection, but there's a lot of hospitalizations. Most pediatric care centers around respiratory infections. And previously it's like you'd look at your baby, they seem congested, you don't know if it's serious or not.
Yeah.
You take them in. But now that we have heart rate data, oxygen data, respiration rate data, temperature data, we actually believe we can do better triage at home.
Okay.
And that's a big part of our focus. How do we do better home triage and then connect that back to your doctor or to a telehealth doctor? And so we're working on that. And then sleep is the third big pillar. We want to help parents get 1 hour of sleep more per night through better sleep coaching and reinforcement. And so those are kind of our 3 big pillars we're focused on.
Yeah.
At home, I'm coaching my son's baseball team. I love that. Wow. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The first season we lost every game. It's a new team. Second season we won 1 game.
Okay.
But the kids are getting a lot better, and I spend a lot of time doing that. So we're doing that. And then we love to travel. So that's kind of the family. Yeah.
Awesome. Wish you all the best. I think this was any final words that you want to share?
No, well, I would just say what you're starting is really incredible. I think one of the biggest questions you have as a parent is, how do I give them a leg up? How do I help them become the best version of themselves? And just from that first pitch you gave, I was like, I don't know what the solution is, but I know that's the right question to ask.
Right. So I think that's the line, that's the thing that we keep saying, that we want every child to become the best version of themselves, right? Yeah. Not conform to any societal standards or benchmarks, but we want that every child should reach their full potential, and we want it to happen in a stress-free environment, both for the parent as well as for the child. But I think it was just this thing, like I had to try too hard, and I wanted kids should not have to
they should just be geniuses from
if they could, right?
If they could,
why not? And if it especially if you have that knowledge that it happens in the first few years, and it's mostly nurture, not nature. That's the other thing, right? The nurture versus nature debate. It's mostly nurture. In Asian countries, parents just yell. I don't know if you know, but they just yell. And in America, they don't. But it's not like so both could be wrong, right? Like both of these approaches could be wrong. The one that works is, okay, you're wanting your child to do something different from what they're doing, but they're not listening to you. You have to teach them a replacement behavior. So if you say, don't do that, they'll still do it. But what you have to say, don't do that, but do this instead. And you give them 5 options, and you practice that replacement behavior when they're not in a triggered state.
Interesting. Okay.
And that works really well. But that's not you yelling at them, and that's not you accepting everything that they're doing as well. There's a third strategy.
Yeah.
So these kind of things, right? So that environment has to be created, and I think with a parent, it's much easier to create that environment because the parent is invested in the child's upbringing, right? So yeah. So I mean, in India, we're like big on family and family values.
Yeah. Same in Utah. Yep.
Yeah. I think in Utah also, right? Like
yeah, very much. It's parents. It's like family's the number one value. Work comes second. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Of course. Family. Yeah. Same in India as well. Family is number one.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Appreciate it.